Welcome to The Bone, the podcast that goes deeper. Here we cut through the noise and get straight to the core of the issues that matter. From real stories to raw truths, we dive deep into the conversations that shape our world and challenge our thinking. We're not afraid to dig in and get to the marrow of it all. Whether it's life, culture, or business in sports medicine, we're here to break it down raw and real. No filters, no fluff, just to the bone. With your host, Shelby Daly, we're getting to the bone. This is a clinically pressed, approved CEU podcast. Find the quiz to gain credit at clinicallypressed.org/courses. Clinically Pressed Company, making the complicated simple through results that give back. Find out more at clinicallypressed.org. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Bone. Today we have Brian Berry. He's an athletic trainer and a past president of the California Athletic Trainers Association and a longtime advocate for the profession. With decades of experience as a clinician, researcher, and mentor, Brian has helped shape athletic training in California and beyond. We're excited to welcome him to the Bone and share his journey and insights. So welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much, Shelby. It's an honor and privilege.
Yeah. So what first drew you into athletic training and what kept you in the profession through the years?
Well, I didn't reach 5 foot until the 9th grade. In fact, I'm still waiting for my growth spurt. And I was a freshman football player back at Dearborn Divine Child in Michigan. Pretty fast for a guy my size. And I caught a punt and ran it back and thinking, God, football's great. You know, it was so easy. And then another series came. They punted again. I look up. Look down, I got a clear path that's going to happen, and then I got my head blown off. And I literally flew sideways, and I was 14 years old. We had an orthopedic surgeon on the sidelines. And I just remember thinking how cool it would be to be on the other end of that pen light. And, you know, he saw that, and he said, you know, how would you like to learn how to be an athletic trainer? And so he took us under our wing, myself, and I think we had three other guys. And we went over to his house. He taught us basic one-on-one, almost Kramer workshop, level instruction. And then he, helped us get into Kramer workshops and doing all that. So I've been an athletic trainer literally since I was 14. And then I ran track and was also the athletic trainer at Ferris State University, which is two-time back-to-back Division II football champions. And doing really well, but that was the right size school for me because it allowed me to be an athletic trainer and run track. In fact, I was the track athletic trainer, so that worked out real well. But I knew sports and science were my passions, and so that kind of drove me all the way through grad school, and then went on from there. So my first job was at University of Colorado Boulder, which I just went back to visit this weekend. I haven't been back on campus, for about 15 years. So it was really nice to connect with their athletic trainers and all that. So then after that, I moved to San Diego and was the director of sports medicine at San Diego State. And, help keep that program going and then advance in my career beyond that. So that's kind of how it all got started.
Yeah. So looking back in your career, what were some pivotal moments that shaped your career as an athletic trainer and made some of the choices that you did?
I think my first job, again, at University of Colorado Boulder, I had Andy Pruitt was my head athletic trainer, and he also went on to become an orthopedic physician assistant, which he inspired me to do, which was great because with all the hours that we had put in as students to become certified as an ATC, a lot of that experience applied to a short window of time in Colorado. And I was able to challenge the exam and passed it, which allowed me to do surgery with my orthopedic surgeons, which gave me great insight as to the level of damage and how the repair is going to come along, which gave me, again, good foresight in designing rehab programs. That really, really helped. And so that was one of the main pivotal ones. And then in San Diego, to be a head athletic trainer at a major Division I school at that age, I think I was the youngest head athletic trainer. For a while, and they had great faith in me. We had a lot of fun, I'll tell you that.
So, do you feel like leadership was thrust upon you because you were a young head athletic trainer at a high division level?
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. And I saw the opportunity, and okay, let's go to it. They have faith in me, and so I think as I counsel my students through the years, seize that opportunity. Don't wait for somebody to deliver it. Create it if you can. And there's leaders lead people, managers lead processes. So those are two very reverent bodies of work that are a great wine pairing. So
Mm-hmm.
the ability to do both, and if you don't see that opportunity, create it. Well, just like you did with the podcast here. So
Yeah.
don't wait for permission. Go ahead and just dive right in, and at the very least, you're going to meet some really, really cool people.
Yeah. So, being involved in the clinical practice and leadership positions, how did you balance those roles and what did you want to accomplish in both?
Well, in both, they kind of blended together. And one thing that it taught, and I think we can all relate, dealing with psychotic, egotistical Division I coaches my whole life and our lives, working with chairmen of the boards and CEOs, which is what I do, is, it's not even a fair fight. So, the ability to gain their trust, deliver. Um, I had a great mentor of mine, Shelby. And when I met her, she was about 144 years old, which makes her like Yoda now. And we just finished putting in a femoral rod on an opposing player, that plays in San Diego. We're walking down the hall and the lights are starting to go down and we're bloody, we're tired. Successful surgery. And she goes, "Hey, B squared, you look really thirsty. You look like you could use a cold beer right about now." I go, "Oh my God, that sounds great." She goes, "Oh, good, because I've got some in the doctor's lounge." So we said, "Right on." So we kept walking. Then she said something that really changed my life, Shelby. And she goes, "You know what, Brian? You can always tell somebody that's smart by the answers and information they give." She says, "But you can always tell somebody that's wise by the questions they ask." And she looked me square in the eyes right there. She said, "Now, which kind of leader are you going to be?" And I never, ever, ever forgot that. So the ability to craft questions, find out what the real pathology is, even metaphorically, it could be in business too, but what the real issue is. And then compound the elixir, get engagement, put it in, and rock and roll. And, so I've always had that philosophy. And simple tip, just walking down the hall, that was life changing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, people see leadership as such a title, not necessarily the processes or how you carried it out. And
Boy,
I
isn't that
guess
true?
coming across different leaders in your career and in the profession, what are we kind of missing ultimately in athletic training from a leadership perspective?
Well, the two most elusive, sought after attributes of an individual in a leadership or management role. And notice how I said that. I didn't say leader or manager, did I? I said those in those roles.
Mm-hmm.
So some occupy the title and they aren't very good at it. Uh, those attributes are self-awareness and accountability. So, most have no clue what's being said about them when they leave a meeting. Everybody thinks I'm a genius. Well, you might want to throttle back there, Brian. All right. And then the accountability. That's not my fault. That's somebody else's fault. So I listen for things like that. So if we're in a group and somebody says, "Well, somebody needs to dot dot dot," so whoa, wait a minute. Taking ownership of that is key. So those have been two kind of compass headings that have always been trying to do my very best, self-awareness and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then in any organization, whether it's athletic training, uh, small, medium, large business, entrepreneurial, Fortune 1, doesn't matter. It really boils down to two things: attitude and communication.
Mm-hmm.
Process improvement is easy to fix when attitude and communication are in harmony. But when those are off kilter, process improvement is darn near impossible. So when I go into an organization or help an athletic training, program, we focus on what's going on from that standpoint: attitude and communication.
Yeah.
And athletic trainers, as you well know, have so many talents that they don't necessarily tap into.
Mm-hmm.
When I ask a leader, a president, head athletic trainer, what's your most important asset? And they usually say, what? It's the people, right? That's very worse answers. Oh, it's our logistics system. It's, whatever. And I remind them that it's not the people. That's your most important asset. It's the untapped potential of the people. So leaders that can tap that untapped potential of their team, that's when things really start to, uh, you know, generate measurable results, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
Hire for attitude, train for skill, right? You ever hear that? Because you can't train attitude, can you? We'll
Yeah.
pound the training into you, but you have to have the attitude.
So we'll get a little deeper. So I don't know if you've observed, but there is some tension between NATA and its members. I think
Yeah.
NATA has the best intentions, and like you just gave with your example, tapping into the unused assets of their membership. They've come up with many boards, many focus groups, specialty groups. They've kind of casted this wide net, but at the same time, the membership seems still kind of confused on what they're supposed to be getting from the NATA. What is the value that they are providing them? I mean, this is a very complex question and very layered,
Mm-hmm.
but how does the NATA better tap into its membership where they're feeling the value from the NATA and they don't feel like they're having to go out and just do everything themselves? And you can totally
That's a good.
disagree if that's not a good
Oh
observation
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
You hit it right on the screws. And as I talk to my colleagues and brand new students that are now working with my colleagues, the NATA, even when I was very active, was starting to get very, very big, very fragmented. Not quite sure what's going on. So it's interesting you brought that up because we talk about engagement, right? You hear that term, team engagement.
Mm-hmm.
There are three things to look at whether or not an organization has solid engagement. First one is satisfaction with immediate supervisor. Now think about what I just said. Right? We're not talking about elation. We're talking about satisfaction with the immediate supervisor. What's going on?
Yeah.
Next is trust in senior leadership. Okay. There are three pillars to leadership: trust, respect, and credibility. I don't
Mm-hmm.
trust you because I don't respect you. I don't respect you because you're not credible. If any of those waffle, there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be problems. So, satisfaction with immediate supervisor, trust in senior leadership, and the third one, Shelby, is belief in the organization. So, athletic trainers have pretty good BS detectors, most of them. So they're questioning, what are my dues delivering? But I think from the NATA standpoint, they're not quite sure what's going on right now. And with the rapid shifts in change in the medical community, um, they're having the same conversations we had back in the 80s, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And there's such a delta between a brand new certified athletic trainer and a true leader. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't always align. We still, when I help out with, different volleyball tournaments and things like that, they expect the athletic trainers to do that for free. We keep
Yeah.
doing it. And, never, ever underprice one's value. And so we're still having, again, the same conversations again. What's our identity? What do we do? Are we trainers? Are we athletic trainers? Are we certified athletic trainers? I'll call into major institutions with strong programs and I'll hear training room. It's like, Jesus, we're still there. The towel over the shoulder, sandwich in the mouth, next to somebody that has multiple credentials. That's another thing too. When you look at ATCs on LinkedIn, they've got 19 credentials,
Yep.
which means the value of that ATC certification isn't what we think it is, you know, and so that's an issue. You got to go out and get, 5 or 6 different additional certifications. Do you really?
Yeah.
Is that necessary? You know, yeah, we do it because we feel that the ATC isn't quite as strong as an acronym.
Yeah.
That's my
Well, and I
humble opinion.
think, well, and I mean, I have the ABC name. I just went to go get more information to be able to communicate with the different stakeholders ultimately, which I didn't feel like I got in my education. So, I think it is kind of looking at the educational aspects, and we keep increasing the scope, but I think at the same time, some of those skills, I don't know if they're fringe, but I don't think we're getting into the core competencies as well as we could be in the education system right now.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation you made there. And what is everybody? What's our new baseline competencies right now? Because it has shifted from 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And another thing they don't teach us in our athletic training undergrad or master's or doctorate is how to run a business.
Yep.
So that's what you're doing. P&L, budget, forecasting, working with senior leadership that aren't athletic trainers. How do you do that? And I feel personally there is a gap that needs to be filled with that, to be thinking like business leaders, because that's what we are. We just happen to be very good at athletic training. So I think that's a delta we need to, recognize, and we need to fill it.
Yep. I think that's why we're so uncomfortable with negotiations and asking for what we're worth and our value is we just
That's a
never talk
perfect
about
example.
that. Yeah. That's why I went and did a certificate at University of Alaska Anchorage. Was I just need to get some of those basics under me to be able to go out and be able to communicate effectively what my value is and understand what the customer needs. And we're not having those conversations in the education programming. So, we think that we're just the talent and somebody's going to advocate for us. And that's not really there either.
Yeah, you hit that perfectly. Now circle that back to what are we getting out of the NATA? How come we need to, and we should,
Mm-hmm.
because who's in charge of our own personal and professional development? We are,
Mm-hmm.
right? We shouldn't rely on the NATA. So ATCs are going out for those additional certifications on their own. So now that begs the question: what's the relevance of the NATA
Yep.
if we're going out and schooling ourselves? So we have to answer that. What's their real role?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have belief in the organization? I don't think so. They're working hard. They're doing well. We're electing the ATCs in there and all that. But it's kind of the same script, different actors.
Mm-hmm.
As we advance, what are we going to do? This is an adult game played by adults, and it is a business. So ATCs must have that acumen in order to be successful. To have that
Yeah.
seat at the suite, have that seat at the C-suite table, as we say, and
Mm-hmm.
then salaries, income are going to rise. So it boils down to what we call earning power. Where are we getting that? Is it self-generated? 90%? Yeah. Is the NATA providing it? Who knows? But the fact is, athletic trainers are raising their hand and saying, what's the relevance of what's the relevance of the ATC?
Mm-hmm.
From an NATA standpoint, and we have conventions, we have meetings, camaraderie, all that stuff, but drill down. How is the NATA providing earning power
Yeah.
for all of us?
Well, and I think that's where the NATA is missing out, and they haven't really evaluated their stakeholders, is when people say, oh yeah, I'm going to the conference, it's usually just for the CEUs and the networking portion. Those are their two main value holds for the conference. And I don't
Which
think,
is needed. The old phrase you ever heard, networking is one letter away from not working.
yeah. And I think the networking's great. I think they need to set it up to hone in on that portion ultimately. When do you get a chance to be with, an open invitation for all athletic trainers across the country? And how do you achieve some sort of CEU with it? I think I don't think that the lectures are relevant anymore. I think it's beating a dead horse with some of the presentations ultimately. I think that we need to do live debates. ICE is still a pretty big debatable product. Why don't you get two people on stage and actually debate it out and have a academic conversation about it? I think bringing in stakeholders from the business aspect of it. I always thought Dana White would be an awesome person to have as your keynote speaker to talk about how he's developed a performance medicine program for the UFC and all the other companies that he has.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to stretch the athletic trainer a little bit more when the NATA gets the touch points. But I don't know. I'm not sure what they're trying to accomplish at this point. I know they've made a lot of changes, but the attendance keeps declining ultimately.
Yeah, and a quality, and that's not limited to the NATA. Every
Mm-hmm.
professional association measures their engagement by the quality of the programs they're delivering
Yeah.
and getting people engaged. So, we got plenty of examples of, membership associations that are rocking it, because they're bringing the cutting edge thought leaders in, having those discussions, those panels, rather
Mm-hmm.
than death by PowerPoint, same script, different actors kind of stuff. And, so yeah, that's a good point you brought up.
Yeah. So through your years in your career, I'm only 10 years certified, so I've really been paying attention for a minuscule time. Where do you see some of these breakdowns coming from, even at the state level? I know that some states are still struggling with the membership, but at the national level, that seems to be the hot topic across the profession. Have you
Mm,
noticed anything significant that could be why it's breaking down a little bit?
sure. I think we preach to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
That old phrase is not what you know, it's who you know. Those days are long gone, Shelby. Now it's who knows what you know. So here's a recommendation for the ATC is get out to the decision makers that are out there in industry, government, and the community,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
One of the best ways to do that is to find a nonprofit that we're definitely passionate about at this point in our lives and our career,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's blood cancer, you know, human trafficking, Center for Abuse of Women, whatever. And don't just volunteer. I consider that human being 101. You ought to be doing that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Serve in a leadership role in that nonprofit. Okay. Even if it's on the envelope licking committee. Okay. Several benefits. We're going to surround ourselves with like minded, value based leaders in our community.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree? There are worse people we can hang out with, right?
Yep.
So that's a good thing. Second thing, it's probably going to be composed of directors, VPs, senior VPs, CEOs in business in our community.
Mm-hmm.
That's, as Maverick would say in Top Gun, that's a target rich environment.
Yep.
We'll be able to hone our chops, our problem analysis, decision making, strategic planning, all that stuff, where we may not necessarily get to in our athletic training role. That's the third thing. Fourth thing, it's going to look good on our resumes. So when I work with somebody or refer somebody, one of the questions I'll ask is, please describe what leadership role you serve in your community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got two distinct lines. I'll either get a blank face or somebody that's contributing. I'm probably going to go for the contributor.
Yep.
That's the fourth thing. Fifth thing, all right, it's good for the karma credit card. There's a Belgian proverb that says, it's no use to expect our ship to come in unless we have sent one out. Okay,
Yep.
it's up to us. That's the fifth thing. But the sixth thing, we're going to make some wicked cool friends. So those are some tips that we can do as athletic trainers to get ourselves out in the community with other decision makers that are not ATCs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as I've been in my career, I still work. I'm executive director for the Ventura County Medical Association. I still have no idea what an ATC is. So I'm working with chairman of the board, CEOs, trustees, and
Mm-hmm.
amplifying the word. They go, you could do all that? God, that's what we need. We need an ATC. That's how it got started. God, when I was back in undergrad, I was hearing stuff like that. You could really do that? Yeah, we do that upside down in a teacup. Really? Okay, good. Come on. We need you. So it's really up to us to get out there in the community. All right?
Yep.
So that's the nonprofit. Lather, rinse, repeat that and serve in a professional association, again, whether it's the NATA or whatnot. It's also one how I got started. So as a student athletic trainer, my head athletic trainer was high up in the NATA committee. In fact, he was on the journal committee when we used to have a journal. We still have a journal?
Yeah.
There's a good question right there. So here I am, a student undergrad. I'm going to the national, convention. And I'm getting invited into the journal committee, which are the Sanhedrin of athletic training. Welcome aboard. And that's how it works. So again, going back to that phrase, it's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows what you know, is the opportunity for ATCs and make it happen. Go out and deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep. I get that.
Yeah. Plus, it's heartwarming to contribute to the community. So,
Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of complaints. Well, okay, so I've seen the volunteer numbers go down. I think there's the tension between NATA, even at the state level. And then I also see that there's no time to go out and do that. We keep saying that we're overworked, our schedules are jam-packed. How do we get around that and be able to get out and volunteer and be involved again? Do you have any tips on that?
one of the things I do is I take complainers and put them instead of complaining, I get them on the planning committee.
Gotcha.
You're saying we don't have time? I work with surgeons that are 24 hours a day that still serve on boards and committees. I call BS on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't have time. Somebody else needs it. No. You figure it out. All right. Figure it out. That's time management 101.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
That's the commonality that I've seen is that I'm overworked. I don't know how to get involved. I
Get out.
don't have the
If
time
you
to
think,
involve.
if you think you're overworked, whether or not you're, painting M's on M&Ms and you don't like it, you've got three choices. You can whine about it, sound like an idiot. You can shut up, let the blood pressure kill you, or do something about it.
Yeah.
All right. So when somebody complains about that, I say, okay, instead of saying, yeah, I hear you, I'll look them right in the eye and just say, okay, what are your top three recommendations to turn this around?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll either moonwalk out of the conversation or they'll engage. Good. But I call them on it. Getting people off of the complaining committee and onto the planning committee. As a leadership, again, that's leadership 101.
Yeah. Well, and recently I went to Chamber of Commerce in my town, and then earlier in the summer, I made sure to go out and see the senator of Alaska. And the Chamber of Commerce always provides food, so you just take it on your lunch break. And
Right.
then, the senator highly involved in the military, and that's when the H2F stuff was falling apart, and he had no idea about it. So I felt like I was able to at least plug in and get him to go look at it and see if he could do anything about it. So if we
Because
are,
you earned their credibility,
yep,
and they listened to you.
yep. So, he's still on the unknown of what a full athletic trainer does, but I make sure to go out every time he's in my hometown and at least drip on him of what we can provide and what we've done for the military, since that's where his values lie, ultimately.
That's very, very good. Well, I actually designed the sports medicine clinic at Naval Special Warfare down at
Okay,
Buds and Coronado. That was me. So I still
nice.
got some of my stuff down there, but now that became a paid role. And interesting story. Well, it requires another podcast how all that came together. But
Yes,
that was a long time ago. That was back. God, that was back in 1990, 91.
nice. Yeah, I'd love to hear that, so I'll put you down on the calendar again.
Yeah, volume two.
Yes. Uh, so when you're in these leadership roles at CATA, um, how did you pull people into carrying out the things that need to be done ultimately?
Well, very, very good. So as soon as I moved to California from University of Colorado in Boulder, moved to
Mhm.
San Diego, I immediately got involved with the CATA, but also with the NATA as a certification
Okay.
examiner. And so immediately locked in. I knew a lot of these ATCs, Bill Chambers and, Julie and the rest of the crew. And but Gary Lang and I were the ones that kind of kickstarted the CATA and got into gear. So we were immediately at the Capitol doing
Mhm.
stuff right there, from a legislation standpoint, with a lot of the same stuff that's going on now. That was a long time ago. Uh, but I jumped right in at that level. So the CATA, we worked on the bylaws. First thing I did was find people way smarter than me to join the board, which is not hard to find. I keep that bar down pretty low. So I had a wicked cool board, and we got shit done. And uh, different thought leaders too, from different
Mhm.
scenarios, and that's what you want on a good board. Instead of no, that's the way we've always done it. The reverse was, hey, have we considered A, B, C, and D? So that diversity of thought uh, paid dividends, and we got things going pretty quick. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we pull off some stuff based upon galvanizing the team. And uh, again, finding people that are coming with new ideas. What may seem like a crazy, harebrained, corny idea may seem silly now, but in quarter 4, it may make perfect sense. So we
Yeah.
never poo-poo anything. We're always thinking, in what ways can we ... So we had a pretty good role. And then I encourage all my student athletic trainers to get involved in committees. Robbie Bauer's been around forever. He was one of my first students. Carolyn Peters, and you know, that's why I have to be very diplomatic, Shelby, when somebody asks, all right, who are you cheering for any Saturday or Sunday? Because now we've got students out there running, institutions. So I use the Solomon approach. I just say whoever leads the tickets at will call, and that works well.
So transparency wise, sometimes you have to hold your cards against your chest, but how transparent should you be with your members about what's going on at the leadership level?
Again, let's go back to the 3 pillars of leadership: trust, respect, and credibility. If there is a sense we're not being um, exposed to the truth, it's going to erode that trust.
Mhm.
So 100%. 100% transparency is key. And that's where it falls in belief in the organization. Are they giving it to us straight? Is there something up their sleeve? Is there something we don't know about? Remember Quintilian centuries ago had a quote. He said, "I'm not interested in communication that's understood." Everybody went, "What?" I think it's a little important. He said it again. "I'm not interested in communication that's understood. I am interested in communication that is never misunderstood." So there's a big, big difference there. So what we need to eliminate is, I thought you said ... I thought you meant 20 mil. I thought you meant October. No, it's got to be what we call bomb proof. It can't be misinterpreted. So that transparency is key, right? My humble opinion.
Yeah. My interactions with the NATA recently kind of made me question, the political correctness, what we're trying to do. There's a lot of liability in saying the wrong things, but I think that's one of the aspects that I've heard, and one that I've observed is, you have to navigate social media obviously very carefully, but they keep pushing that, oh, we're open to questions, we want to create conversations, all this stuff, but then they kind of shut off some of the uh, avenues to be able to hold those conversations at the same time. So with this new era of social media and the instantaneous conversations, do you have any advice of how someone should navigate that ultimately? Not just the
Yes, I do.
NATA?
That comes down to the NATA's vision, mission, and values. Those aren't corny words. The vision is the Monet, Rembrandt, Van Gogh painting of what the association will look like performing well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The mission is how we're going to do this. That's the block and tackling. And the values are how we roll. Those are the character-based attributes. So I grew up in Detroit, Shelby. All right. Love R&B, Motown, rock and roll. Hated disco then. Really hate it now. It has not evolved.
So
And
disco is still dead.
yeah, exactly. So I had my team together. We're doing our half year, which we did every 3 to 6 months, our half year vision, mission, and values. Find out what's shifted. Do we need to adjust? Because again, just like the masters, Rembrandt, Monet, Van Gogh will take years to do a good masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And so in walks one of my team members, one of those 1980s boom boxes. Remember the one with about 70 batteries in it?
Yep.
Playing the song Lips Incorporated, Funky Town. Remember how that goes? How's
Funky
it go?
Town,
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
take me to
Yeah, won't
Funky
you take
Town.
me to Funky? Now you know where the singing lessons went. And but it was an attention getter. And what we did, Shelby, was craft as a team what we would look like. And this is when I was president of Dale Carnegie in Greater Los Angeles, Ventura County. What are we going to look like in the next 3 to 6 months? Well, it happened to be August, which meant December was 6 months. That's
Mm-hmm.
also where we were going to have our global conference for the Dale Carnegie. 90 countries and over 40 languages. Big hogwash party, right? And so we designed Funky Town. The roads, the buildings, the plumbing, the power, everything metaphorically. And we all agreed on it. I spoke last. Everybody else contributed. I spoke last as the leader. Everyone gave great insight. And then we all went, Funky Town, baby. And what happened was no one had to be micromanaged. They refereed every email, conversation, meeting, action, thought process, and refereed the question, will this get us to Funky Town, yes or no? It was a binary question. seeking a binary answer. If it was no, we didn't do it. We kicked it to the curb. If it was a yes, we were confident that it was in alignment with the vision, mission, and values. So our vision statement, Shelby, was we will be recognized globally on stage as the #1 office for trainer quality, curriculum design. I think it was resurrection of dead accounts. And notice how we said that. We will be, not I'd like to be. If rainbows and unicorns appear, that's political correctness, fuzzy wuzzy stuff. Can't do that. Intent is a very deliberate, purposeful word. Well, guess where we were in 6 months? Up on stage, singing Funky Town. All right. So it's that intent, and NATA doesn't have that yet. They don't have their clear Monet, Rembrandt, Van Gogh painting of what the NATA and the members will look like performed well.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely don't have the mission down, block and tackle. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
They don't know if they're on foot or horseback yet. You know, they're chasing DEI instead of MEI. You know what MEI is?
Is that
Merit,
emotional?
excellence, and
Merit.
intelligence.
Okay. Yep.
I don't care what color you are, what any of that. Can you pull this off? Yes or no? Right? So, and then the values. What do they really value? Again, it goes back to the 3 pillars. Satisfaction with immediate supervisor, trust in senior leadership, and belief in the organization. So I think the last 2 are the ones that really apply to the NATA. Right?
Yeah.
Do we trust the senior leadership in the NATA? Do we believe in the organization? Evident by the fact that we're talking about this and it's all over the social media. No, the last 2 are not there yet. So they got some adult decisions to make on how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But don't whine about it.
Yeah.
Come with 3 recommendations to make it better.
Well, and I think that kind of rolls into the question or the advice you had given earlier was, that delegation to the membership of, go out and carry it out. But at the same time, with this DEI initiative, they've kind of divvied up everything to an extent. I still can't believe that as a woman entrepreneur, women athletic trainer, I don't qualify for half of the scholarships or grants that are out there because I'm not a person of color. But I have the motivation to do something and try to advocate, create something, but I'm kind of shut down on my avenues because of this DEI initiative. And
Sure.
Not even just because I'm a woman. I think it should just be whoever has the best idea gets the money ultimately. I don't know why.
Excellence, and intelligence.
Exactly. And that's in the DAT that I'm in at FIU. We talk heavily about cognitive diversity and how that kind of should be the avenue that we should be going down rather than defining off of the DEI, which can bring insights to the cognitive diversity because of experience that different people bring in from their cultural, religious, whatever. But this is where it's frustrating for me as still somewhat of a young professional is I'm kind of boxed in and not able to pounce on the opportunities or ideas that I have because the money's not there.
Well, there's 3 words to resolve that. Win the vote. Win the vote. Okay, that stuff's got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Again, growing up in Detroit, 6th grade, I wrote a paper on our heritage, which was Irish. Found out that we had family members that were actually slaves from the Brits. Cromwell and was burning down whole villages. And I won the opportunity to meet Rosa Parks. Remember her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On the actual bus, which is at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn. And we were all asked to ask her some tips on leadership. And I remember saying, she goes, Brian, just promise me one thing. I said, what's that? She said, never judge anybody by the color of their skin. She grabbed my hands and looked me in the eye. She said, would you do that? I said, absolutely. So I was one of the first to put women student athletic trainers on the football field. And that was a big deal. I didn't do it for any cause. I did it because they were bright and wanted to give them great experience.
Mhm.
And then it becomes familiar. Eleanor Roosevelt said, try something we fear every day. And when we do, it becomes more familiar. When it becomes more familiar, it becomes a lot less scary. When it's a lot less scary, we tend to do it more. When we
Yeah.
do it more, it becomes natural. So with your observations, with the DEI and all that, you can't rely on it. So you go out and create it,
Mhm.
right? Almost insinuate yourself into different roles and different strategic tables and
Yeah.
whatnot. And the fact that you're taking the initiative going out there. Because again, this is how you're putting food on your table.
Yep.
Don't wait for somebody else. When they provide some support, by all means, take them up on it. But we're the ones that are responsible for our own personal, professional growth and development. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And that's what a good entrepreneur does. They don't wait.
Mhm. Well, and I think that's where I think it's very ironic at the same time is the NATA is really trying to unify the membership, but with these initiatives, it's pulling us apart. They're trying to create leaders, but at the same time, if somebody needs to be acknowledged for a certain trait, I don't think that's the best leader ultimately. I don't.
No,
So I'm
no,
not sure if
they're
we're
going the
creating.
wrong way.
Yeah, they're not creating the adequate leader that we need within the profession. You're dividing and victimizing that person because of something they were born with, when why aren't we trying to break them out of that and make them the athletic trainer? Athletic trainer does not
That's
have
right.
any sex, color, religion associated with it. So I'm not sure, like you had said, the mission is really achieving what they need at this moment in time.
Yeah. Let's put this. So years ago, I got talked into, invited to be the president of the National Human Resources Association. Now, I'm not an HR guy by trade, but I know how to do a lot of that stuff. But what I do know, as we discussed a little bit earlier, is I do know how to find people way smarter than me and get them on boards. So in that role, I was able to go to a lot of workshops on everything from org design to whatever. So right now we have 7 generations in the workforce. Traditionalists, kind of 70 and older, still on boards, sometimes often named the greatest generation. Yeah, all right. They're the ones that brought us lung cancer and unions. Thanks for that. Then we have the baby boomers. We're the a-holes that think we could do it well. We usually screw it up, but we also have the best soundtrack, right? So that's what we got going for us. Then you have X and Y generation, which have all had parents that divorced. They quit having kids, which is causing a major gap globally because that's the age level it's supposed to go from director up to VP, VP to
Mm-hmm.
SVP, and C level. There's just not enough of them out there.
Yeah.
Then you have the millennials who have been trashed up and down. Then you have Gen Z, which I think is just ridiculous because there's nothing after Z, which means we're all screwed. But the real name is the media generation. They're the ones that have never, ever, ever, ever not operated off of these. They think the millennials are in that. And then we have Gen Alpha? Yeah, whatever. So one of the nonprofits I work for is Collab, Kollab. Provide all the leadership training, apprenticeships, college readiness, workforce readiness for
Mm-hmm.
all the underserved, under-resourced teams in LA. Very
Okay.
strong. Look it up. Kollab. I'm going to get you on a panel.
Okay.
Uh, but these are kids often with no parents. They're both in jail. They're foster parents. They're going on to become neurosurgeons. Okay. Now, let's go back to the scene. We've got a room full of human resources thought leaders, Cornell, Michigan, Wharton, big hitters. Usually when we go to these, like we deal with a multi-generational workforce, everybody walks out with a migraine and they're sweating until this one. And a friend of mine is leading the meeting. And she asked the audience, she goes, how many are familiar with the top 50 best places to work awards? All the hands went up. So you got Newsweek, US News, right? Forbes, gajillions of them out there. They all raised their hands. She goes, imagine working for a company that the first 90 days of probation are really in your face, really intense, and really performance driven. And if you screw up, you're fired. Right? I'm a big audience watcher, and a third of the audience, Shelby, just went, this sucks. Another third went, whatever. Another third went, yeah, baby, Nike. I went, wow. She goes, now imagine you're working for a company where the first 90 days of probation are all cross-functional trained, and you're going to have a mentor by your side when we hire you, because we will hire you. You're going to have more mentors to be with you. Make sure you don't stumble and fall. So I look at the audience and the same reactions, but they all shifted almost to the number. Then she said, imagine working for a company where the first 90 days of probation and whether or not you're hired is not a choice of leadership. It's a decision from your team. And then she went, and up on the screen came all three categories voted by their employees in the top 50 best places, completely different cultures. And then she put some math behind it, Shelby. She said each one of these companies never had to recruit. They had talent in all 7 generations, male, female, disregarded color. All right. They all had less than 3% attrition rate, which is anemic. They attracted the best talent, regardless of your culture, your background, your faith, your gender. Doesn't matter. We want you to want us. Meaning, that first one, the intense one, if you, regardless of where you came from, what color your skin, your education, we don't care. If you're looking for a good, challenging environment that's high octane, high reward, come to door number 1. If you can't stomach that, don't apply. If you need a more nurturing one, go to door number 2. I remember at the time, Whole Foods was the team one. They had their own bakery, dairy, produce department. Hey, work in teams. They have their own P&L. So if you're a Rambo like working by yourself, don't apply to Whole Foods. If you like working in teams, come apply to us.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap with this, Shelby. Each one of these companies had a signature that was never misunderstood. Okay, like Quintillion said. Oh, we're a people company. Yeah, you get in there and it's, getting the crap beat out of you. Some like that. So it's real important that the NATA have a signature. And you brought it up several times. They're fragmented. They're pulling in the opposite direction rather than funky town.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. So that's how I see it. They're trying to be something for everybody. They're trying to be politically correct because, 24 months ago, it was the way everybody did it. But we're seeing the results too. They're fragmented. Often there's a little peek behind the curtain. Often it's a distraction flare. Look over here. We're not diverse enough. What's the core issue? Membership engagement and earning power for the ATC. That's it. So they're trying to boil the ocean.
Yep.
Ain't gonna work.
So I guess what excites you about the future of sports medicine?
The fact that things change and ATCs are really good at rapid response and shifting on a pivot. So, the opportunity there is to step forward as leaders and gain that trust. All right. With the divisiveness in the country,
Mhm.
there's a vacuum there. All right.
Yeah.
So get involved in the community, get involved outside of NATA. Because that's, again, preaching in the choir. Let the community know and the decision makers out there know what's going on. All right. And that's who I'd invite on boards, not ATCs. I'd bring in industry leaders in the community and hear from them how ATCs could help strengthen the medical community and the community at large.
Yeah.
It's one of the best tips I could give is bring people that don't know much about us and get them on a panel and have them learn. Because
Yep.
otherwise it's just us preaching to the crowd.
Yep. Exactly. So if anybody wanted to connect with you, how's the best way to do that?
On LinkedIn, which is the only social media I use because I have let's talk about time management. I don't have time to watch birthday parties for cats. And so LinkedIn's probably the best way. It's also, I write booming letters of recommendation, by the way. All right.
Perfect.
Which I will do for you.
Thank you. So get to know
That's one
Brian
of the best
Berry.
ways. Yeah, but you've got my email address. Pump that out.
Okay.
My BAT phone is on there 310-484-6992. That's the only
Perfect.
phone I have. I don't need 9 on the wall that I got to figure out which one's ringing and then listen to the answering machine. I have one.
You don't have a beeper anymore?
I sold that with a fax machine. Yeah.
You still need that for HIPAA, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, this was a very insightful conversation. I'm glad that we were able to roll along and bring up some of the important topics that just need to be talked about ultimately. They're not divisive, it's just ideas that need to get out there and be thought about. So,
That's right. We keep the lines of communication open rather than closed, right?
perfect. Exactly. So, well, thank you so much for being on, and I'm hoping to have you on again to talk about the naval athletic training stuff that you put together. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. You let me know. I'd be glad to join. So keep up the great work, Shelby.
perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye now.
That's it for today's episode of To the Bone. I hope we've sparked some new thoughts, challenged your perspectives, or simply reminded you to dig a little deeper. Remember, life isn't just about what's on the surface. Sometimes you've got to cut deeper and get to the bone of what really matters. To the Bone podcast is a product of Daily LLC. It's hosted and produced by Shelby Daly, ATC, and Randy Daly. No clinical decision-making should be based solely on one source. While care is taken to ensure accuracy, factual errors can be present. For more on the show, visit www.tothebonepodcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Get involved in the conversation. You can find us at www.tothebonepodcast.com. Drop us topic suggestions or be a potential guest. We're all about connecting with you, our listeners. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep cutting deep.